I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mrs. Rooney, roll call, please.
Mr. Sullivan,
Present.
Mrs. Hollenbach,
Present.
Mr. Allen,
Present.
Mrs. Brocius,
Here.
Mrs. Lafferty is absent with prior notice, Mrs. Marshall,
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Sporny.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mrs. Rooney. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
The board met in executive session this evening prior to this meeting to discuss matters related to confidential employment matters and the Oxford Valley Mall and Stonemore Assessment Appeal litigation. Mrs. Rooney, any announcements?
No announcements.
Mr. Bowman, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Last night I had the pleasure of speaking at the third annual Neshaminy Alumni Achievement Award Ceremony in the Black Box Theater at the high school. This year, 6 of our alumni were recognized for their lifetime accomplishments, all of which were extremely impressive. Each spoke about how their experience at Neshaminy shaped their futures and how particular Neshaminy staff members, some of whom were at the ceremony last night, nurtured their talents, their hopes, their dreams with their teaching advice, guidance, and friendship. As educators, it's particularly gratifying to hear these stories and know that the work that we do every day has such a positive and lasting effect on our students throughout their lives. Congratulations to Mr. Roy Nelson, Miss Claire Smith, the Honorable Denise Bowman, Dr. Rachel Churchill, Dr. Morgan Hennessy, and Mr. Andy Lamb. It was an extremely impressive class, and it was a great event. Congratulations to all. Thank you for coming back to share your stories and make Neshaminy proud. I want to thank all of our Neshaminy families and local businesses that have contributed to this year's holiday food drives across the district. This time of year, the generosity of our community is on full display as our schools hold a variety of donation drives to ensure that no family goes without necessities this holiday season. Also, thanks to our staff members who have organized these drives and our social workers, counselors, school resource officers, and nurses that coordinate distribution of the items to those that need them. Also, boardroom art for this month is from Miss Todd at Schweitzer, Miss Marsden at Hoover, and Miss McGuigan at Pearl S. Buck. Thank you for your efforts, and thank you to the students for creating such amazing art. And finally, just a happy Thanksgiving to our staff, our students, and our entire community.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. That brings us to the first public comment period. Mrs. Rooney?
There's no sign-ups for agenda items.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. That brings us to routine matters. Mrs. Brocious?
I'd like to make a master motion for 2.01 minutes, 2.02 treasurer's report, 2.03 check register and procurement card purchases, 2.04 budget transfers, 2.05 bids, 2.06 investments, and 2.07 exonerations.
There's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Personnel Administrative. Retirements, resignations, end of assignments. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the following retirements, resignations of administrative staff, and there's one name on the list. A motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Brocious. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Mr. Allen, personnel certificated.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I would like to place a motion on the floor, agenda item 4, personnel certificated, 4.01, retirements, resignations, end of assignments, 4.02, appointments, 4.03, tenure awards, 4.04, leaves of absence, 4.05, revised returns from leave, 4.06, co-curricular resignations, 4.07, co-curricular appointments, That's it, sorry.
There's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Sporny. Comments or questions?
Yes, I would like to point out, under 4.01 retirements, we have a name, Mr. Patrick Smith, of 25.4 years. We thank you very much for your service.
Okay, we have a second already, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Personnel support, Ms. Wolbeser?
I'd like to make a master motion, 5.01, retirements, resignations, end of assignments, 5.02, appointments, 5.03, revised returns from leave, and 5.04, ancillary appointments.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Hollenbeck. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Business operations, Mrs. Hollenbeck.
Thank you. I'd like to make a master motion for business operations 6.01 revised procurement card use, 6.02 Special Olympics MOU, 6.04 HR Solutions for Schools Bundled Services, 6.05 Enrollment Study Future Think LLC, 6.06 Oxford Valley Mall Tax Assessment Appeals, 6.07 Agreement with School Operation Services Group, Inc., 6.08 Agreement with TransFinder, 6.09 Agreement with Hop Skip Drive, Inc., 6.10 Agreement with Ever Driven Technologies, LLC, 6.11 CBiz Flexible Spending Account Agreement, and 6.12 Fund Balance Transfers for Capital Projects.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0.
I'd like to make a motion for 6.03, resolution to not raise taxes above the Act 1 index. Whereas Pennsylvania boards of school directors have the option to adopt the Act 1 resolution for the upcoming fiscal year in accordance with Section 311 of the Taxpayer Relief Act of Special Session Number 1 of 2006. And whereas the Act 1 index for 2025 through 26 is 4.7%, and the district will not raise the rate of any tax by more than the index. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby adopts the attached Act 1 Accelerated Budget Opt-out Resolution for the 2025 through 26 budget in accordance with Act 1 of 2006, and there's one file attached.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Allen. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. I think we're at educational development. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I'd like to make a master motion for 7.01 overnight trips and 7.02 student settlement agreement.
There's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? I am abstaining from this vote for the fact that I have a child in cheer and I have a child in band, so I'm abstaining from this vote. So I think the motion passes 7-0 with one abstention. And that brings us to policy. Mr. Sporny?
Sure, I'd like to make a motion, 8.01, second reading of policy, whereas the first reading of the policies listed below was completed on November 12th, 2024, public work session, whereas the board policies listed below are being recommended for a second reading and final adoption into the Neshaminy School District Policy Manual. Now Now therefore be resolved that the Neshaminy School Board of Directors review the policies listed below for final adoption into the Neshaminy School District Policy Manual, sections number 113.1, 113.2, 202, 218.1, 236.1, and 254.
Thank you, Mr. Sporn. There's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Rodriguez. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. That brings us to the closing of the meeting. Anyone have any other board business? Next is the second public comment period. If anyone has anything, please approach the podium. State your name, occupation, and where you live, and push the button.
My name is Michael Coyne. I work for facilities. I'm an HVAC mechanic, and I live in Southampton, Pennsylvania. The reason I'm here is because earlier I sent an email out, to most of the board members, stating how I felt about Scott Congdon. I asked them if there was anything, that they needed to hear from me, the details of what and why I thought that he was a competent leader. I've been here for 25 years, and I've noticed the one thing that he's been able to get together that all the other leaders I've had throughout all these years is to utilize everybody's talent to their best abilities. He doesn't get in anybody's way, and he listens to everybody. So I was very surprised when he said that he wasn't getting the permanent, position, because as far as I'm concerned, I don't usually like to speak for other people, but I feel confident that I can speak for the guys that work with me, electricians, plumbers, HVAC, carpenters, and I feel like they all feel the same way. I've never seen such a harmony of people working together and feeling good about their input. I've never seen that before. There was always a separation between who our leaders were in the past and as far as ideas being passed back and forth to to the employees underneath them. I have a lot of pride in my field. I've been doing it ever since I was a teenager. I'm 59 years old right now, and I take very much pride in what I do in my trade. And I notice a good leader when I see one, and I notice serious employees when I see them. Scott is a serious employee of the school district. He is homegrown. He's had more pride that I've seen out of any of my leaders. He listens to everybody if they have something to speak. He's always has time for anybody who has an idea, and he lets everybody's talents get interchanged between the other trades. He doesn't get in the way. At the same time, he helps everybody out because he's got, his engineering background. But as far as a man goes, and as a leader, I think he's perfect. Now, that's just me. But nobody's perfect, but I think he's perfect for this position. And so far, what I've seen has been harmony and input that I haven't seen as long as I've been here. So I just want to say thank you, and if anybody has any more questions, any more specifics, I'd appreciate it, because I think my input, could be valuable. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, that brings us to board comment. Mr. Allen?
I just want to wish all of our staff, our students, and our community, and my fellow board members a very sincere happy Thanksgiving. Hope it's a wonderful extended weekend for everyone. That's all. Thank you.
What John said. Okay. That brings us to the next meeting, it will be in this room on December 2nd, and that's the reorganization meeting, and then there will be a board meeting after reorganization meeting. And there's a facilities meeting on December 12th, and that'll be the last meeting of this year. And that'll be in this room too at 6:30. Okay? If there's nothing else, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.